Welcome to the Society Insurance Risk Control Program on the safe handling of grease or oil-soiled fabric rags and linens and how to prevent restaurant fires from the spontaneous ignition of grease-soaked kitchen towels. The hazards presented by grease-soaked or contaminated rags and linens is not well known or understood and is often overlooked. This training session will show an actual restaurant fire caused by spontaneous combustion of grease-contaminated linens. By the end of the program, you will know what causes spontaneous linen fires and how to protect your business from a potentially disastrous loss. Before we show this video, let me explain what you will see. You are viewing the security monitor for a Society Insurance customer, and in the upper right panel you will see the cash drawer is open. A long day is done, the business has closed, and everyone has gone home. Security lights are on by the front door, bar, and kitchen. However, there is no security light in the basements since it's not a point of entry. Now as the video starts playing, watch the basement panel. See the glow? The surveillance camera is picking up a light, an increasing, slightly flickering light in the basement. If you look at the lower left kitchen panel, you can see the same increase in light in the back of the kitchen. What is it? It's a fire. The basement stairs have a 90-degree turn with a landing halfway down. It was on this landing that the owner kept his soiled linen bag, and it is this soiled linen bag that has smoldered for hours and is now actively on fire. If you watch the timestamp, it takes 12 minutes from when the linen bag begins to visibly burn until it is fully involved. 5 minutes later, smoke is filling the first floor of the basement stairway and the fire is beginning to spread to the kitchen. The restaurant fire will not be a total loss, however. Along with the surveillance system, our customer also had a fire alarm that was monitored by an off-site vendor 24/7. 47 minutes after the fire starts, the fire department is seen checking the rest of the building after dealing with the initial fire source. You might be asking yourself where this hazard came from. Cooking oils, whether sunflower, vegetable, canola, or good old-fashioned lard, are just that, oil. They are classified as a combustible liquid, just like the 5W30 motor oil you might use in your car. A combustible liquid has a flash point equal to or greater than 100 degrees, and cooking oils fall into the Class 3 category, with a flash point greater than 200 degrees. Common vegetable oil has a flash point around 235 degrees. When you use linen towels or rags to wipe up spilled cooking oil or to clean the grill or deep fryer, the oil is absorbed into the linen. It is this absorbed oil that will be the source of the fire. What is spontaneous ignition? In this picture, you see a wisp of smoke rising from the apron and a darkening of the fabric. It's beginning to smolder and if left alone will erupt into flame. Oil will react with organic material, creating an exothermic reaction, where it self-heats to the point where it will ignite without any other ignition source. In a restaurant, the cloth towels, rags, and linens that you use are cotton or cotton poly blends. The cotton is the organic material that will react with the absorbed oil that is trapped within the fibers. When stuffed into a linen or laundry bag, the self-heating will begin. As it heats up and begins to ignite, it will pull in oxygen to feed the fire and involve the other linens packed around it, more fuel for the fire. You may be wondering if you can just wash linens and rags. Well, having a washer and dryer in the back room or basement of the restaurant is usually not a good option. Consumer or residential washers and dryers are not designed to remove flammable or combustible liquids. Check the owner's manual. Look for the chapter where it describes how a washer or dryer is to be used, and you will find a warnings section or box. While the word choice will vary, most will say something like, "Never place items in the washer that are dampened with gasoline or other flammable fluids." No washer can completely remove oil. Do not dry anything that has had any type of oil on it, including cooking oils. Doing so can result in death, explosion, or fire. In addition, the type of cleaning agents available to the consumer are not strong enough to emulsify the grease and oil found in linens and hold it in suspension long enough to be rinsed away. In fact, once a rag or cloth is contaminated with grease or oil, some residue will always remain. So how should you clean linens and rags? If you choose to use rags and linens in your restaurant, Society Insurance Risk Control strongly recommends that a restaurant linen service be used. For a fee, They bring clean linens 1 or more times per week based on your usage and remove the soiled linens. Until the linens are picked up, you will still need to safely store those that are grease-soaked or contaminated. But you will avoid having a large buildup of grease-soaked linens waiting to be cleaned, and you will be assured the clean linens have had the vast majority of grease properly removed. If you do feel the need to launder the linens yourself, you will need to purchase true commercial-grade equipment. However, don't be fooled by the commercial washers or dryers used in laundromats. These units have heavier-duty components and will last longer or will hold larger loads, but their ability to remove grease and oil from linens is essentially the same as a residential unit. One source for a true commercial unit is Haygas Machinery, but expect to pay over $2,000 per unit. Remember to also review the owner's manual before any purchase. Are there any restrictions on using the selected machine to wash or dry oil-contaminated material? You will also need a cleaning product or detergent that is capable of removing grease and oil. This product will be much stronger than what can be bought at retail and have an increased level of hazard for employees who handle it. You will need to develop a detailed hazard communication program for the storage and use of this chemical, along with a training program for employees that includes a review of the Safety Data Sheet, or SDS. The obvious question now is, what should I do with my grease-soaked or contaminated linens? As it turns out, the answer is not a difficult one. The first option is to not use any linens in the kitchen for cleaning. Switch to paper towels, which are disposed of in the trash throughout the day or at the end of the day. In other words, they are removed from the building and are a safe distance away, often in a dumpster. Next is to stop the fire before it starts. To have a fire, you need 3 elements. 1, something that will burn, which is the grease-soaked linen. 2, heat, which is the grease-soaked linen's ability to self-heat. And 3, oxygen, to feed or sustain the fire once it starts. Remove one of the 3 and you will not have a fire. Removing oxygen is the easiest option in a restaurant. This is done by placing the grease-soaked or contaminated linens in a metal container with a tight-fitting lid. This metal container could be a simple steel garbage can with a lid, or a made-for-the-purpose container as shown here. What about a fabric bag provided by my vendor? Can I leave dirty rags in there? No. A fabric or nylon bag will not stop a fire. It may be treated to be fire resistant, but it will burn. The bag is porous to the air. It will allow air or oxygen to pass through it and will feed any fire that ignites from the self-heating of the grease-soaked linens. Okay, so what about clean linens? An amazing fact with linens that were grease-soaked and then cleaned is that the grease is never 100% removed. There is always a residual left behind that can actually be measured. When a brand new, never used stack of kitchen towels is weighed and then compared to the same number of towels that have been repeatedly contaminated with grease and then laundered, the laundered stack weighs more. This increase in weight is due to the residual grease trapped in the linen fibers. Since we know grease is combustible, the best place to store the clean linen is away from any soiled linens or heat source. The ideal location is inside a metal cabinet or locker. When cleaning up a spill or doing self-cleaning of appliances, some linens may become too grease-soaked or soiled to try and clean. When this occurs, dispose of them promptly by placing them in your outdoor garbage dumpster. If they are grease-soaked, you do not want them inside your restaurant. Get them out. If you ever pick up a freshly laundered rag or cloth and there is a sheen on your hands, or your fingers feel slippery after using it, dispose of it. Even though it was cleaned, what has happened is the residual oil or grease that can't be removed from the fibers, even with the proper cleaning, has built up to a point where it can be felt. It now presents a greater fire hazard even though it was cleaned. Do not allow your restaurant to become a statistic. The National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, reported 8,000 restaurant fires per year from 2006 to 2010. Those fires caused an estimated $246 million in property damage to restaurants, and some never reopened. Unsafe use of cooking materials, such as grease and oil, are on the NFPA's list of top 5 common triggers for restaurant fires. But these fires do not have to happen. They can be prevented. You can prevent them. Prevention is not difficult or expensive. You just have to act. Use the information in this presentation to make your restaurant safer. It's up to you. In summary, restaurant fires from grease-soaked or contaminated rags, cloths, or linens can be prevented. Your first option is to eliminate the exposure by using only paper towels in the kitchen. If you choose to use cloth, rags, and linens in the kitchen, use a commercial linen service. Do not try to launder them yourself. Any rags, towels, or linens that become grease-soaked or contaminated should be stored in a metal container with a tight-fitting lid, not in a laundry bag. Thank you for allowing Society Insurance to help you help yourself. Find more risk management resources online at societyinsurance.com.